It's your fault that corporate profits aren't high enough, and it's your fault that inflation has gone to the moon. That's what they're saying anyway. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. In today's video, we are going to talk about just that. I want to show you what the corporations are deciding your fate will be. We're going to look at the layoffs, the companies that are doing them right now, and the companies that are not. I've got a lot of information I want to cover. Let's begin with this. Leading indicators fall again, but the US appears no closer to recession. Leading economic indicators, just think of this like a whole bunch of indicators put together that generally show us, are we heading into a recession? What is the current status? And so on. And right now, this looks real weak. At this time, we can notice that this has been sort of around the range of where we would typically see a recession, meaning that we were like actually in the recession now and we just haven't admitted it yet. But there's going to come a time at which we're going to look back in the rearview mirror and be able to tell exactly where it was and how it was. This is important because that's where it all begins. Fed should stop quantitative tightening, reduce interest rates soon. This is according to the former bond king, Bill Gross. And what he had to say was that you better start cutting rates in the next few months because the economy is not as strong as it was before. Quantitative tightening, they got to stop that. And I have said previously that the expectation is that they'll probably start slowing down the amount of quantitative tightening that they're doing. That will be the first announcement. So right away, the first thing that they did was, hey, at some point, we're going to start talking about not increasing interest rates and then cutting interest rates. But the first action that they will take likely is that they reduce their quantitative tightening from currently $80 billion. And then they bring that into, let's say, 60 or 40 or 20 and so on. So Bill Gross had that to say, and essentially what he's talking about is the reality of the circumstance that it isn't so strong. It's not as it once was. We are not in the 2017 economy right now. This is a sugar high. You want to get that stimulus out there, and they did that, but they went overboard and they realized this, but now it's time to pay the price, literally. Is it real though? What is real? Well, let's look at some of those things that are real because the stock market's not real. The bond market's not real either. What is real? Well, let me tell you. Disgruntled employees cost the U.S. companies an estimated $1.9 trillion in lost productivity last year. This is according to research done by Gallup that puts a price tag on workplace unhappiness. Okay, so they've somehow figured this out. And basically what they're saying is that people are unhappy. They are quote unquote quiet quitting. And if they're just kind of sitting around twiddling their thumbs, arms crossed, they're not productive. And they are the reason that businesses lost $1.9 trillion. Let me tell you, by the way, that corporate profits are at a record high. Okay, a whole different story. But at the same time, you trying to have a higher salary so that you can pay your bills, you are creating the inflation. That's called wage inflation. And when it comes in the form of, you can't afford your groceries and so on, it's kind of like, I'm just trying to live. But they see that as wage inflation, okay? But that's the story for today. So you get these two things with the wage inflation and also the lost productivity based on quiet quitting and others, that they have deemed this to be the situation today. Why? Why is this the case? Why are we going through this world now where we cannot even keep up with the basic expenses? And we could look at the 1970s, we can compare it to today, and yeah, that's a big difference. Many differences from the 1970s. We don't even have to take that though. We don't have to look at that far back. Just look at the year, beginning of 2020. And everything seems different today, doesn't it? Really does. And it's shocking to me to see how rapid the acceleration has been. TikTok, believe it or not, TikTok is laying off employees in an effort to reduce costs. About 60 employees laid off, mostly in the company's sales and advertising division. What's interesting about this, By the way, it says 7,000 employees. That's a big company, right? Is that they started to, by the way, they're growing massively. And they also have TikTok Shop, which is a place that has been just in the last few months, the billions of dollars that have been spent through that channel alone. And at the same time, they are laying people off. Why is this? Because they always love companies. It doesn't matter if it's tech companies, financial companies, or what have you. The first thing that they love to do is to cut costs, particularly with employees. Yes, they'll cut from here and there, and they'll take away the free lunches, they'll take away the massages, all those things go as well. But nothing gets shareholders happier than to see people getting fired. That is ultimately what comes down first. As soon as we see that, usually the stock does well after. On the other hand, though, while Walmart pays its truck drivers 6 figures, an interesting story. If you want to read through this from FreightWaves, what I liked about it, I mean, it just shows you everything. I'm interested in shipping logistics. I deal with it all the time. But they talk about how Walmart deals with their own, everything through 2020, right? Ever since then. And they do pay their truck drivers a lot more than you would get other places, for the most part, on average. Different from what the average person in the store would get. But they have a path where you can actually go from associate to driver. What they're saying is we want to pay them a good salary. Part of that was we couldn't get any good people to go out into these little towns. You remember how it worked with Walmart? You had a little town with the mom and pop shops. Walmart comes in. They basically eliminate all the jobs in there. They become the only game in town. But they're the master of logistics. They can get that stuff from China. They could put it on the boat. They could put it at the port. They pick it up on those containers, put those on the ship, on the truck, and get those over to the Walmarts. The problem, though, is that they could not get it there for, efficiently as they would like it because they couldn't find enough drivers. So now they pay them these levels, and they have apparently a fantastic crew. They employ, I think it's 14,000 truck drivers, paying them 6 figures to start, by the way, it seemed like. And so that's what's done. There's a job that not everybody wants to do. If the job is in abundance, there's so many of them, well, then you spread yourself thin and you can't get the salaries you want. It depends on how sought after that is. That's why companies like OpenAI are willing to pay several $100,000 a year, because that's the latest craze. That's the new thing. But if everybody becomes an AI engineer, well, then not going to do as good. Here we have it, the tech layoffs that have been going on right here, which is, you'll see, just look at it, Wayfair and Google and others that you may recognize through it. This is already, 2024 has just begun, and already we're seeing mass layoffs. This is not going to stop. It's going to continue, right? The reason it's going to continue is because we have yet to get out of this zone of tightening. As soon as they get into the time frame of, hey, we're back in the easy money, well, then things will change. Companies will hire, and things will ultimately go into the kicking the can down the road. And this is, something that will, in fact, be a problem for some. Sean, if you're listening, check this out. This is a robot that can take a blueprint and actually print it on the floor. So where the pipes are going to go, where all the different wiring is going to go, all of that perfectly to the 1/16th of an inch accuracy. It will then print that, not just the lines. If I scroll down here, you're going to see it for yourself. Not just the lines, but all the detail. If you could see that, all the detail listed right there on the floor. Now, that's just one small aspect, of course, of construction. It doesn't mean everybody's job is gone tomorrow. But now we've figured out a way to potentially improve the process. There still needs to be a guy there. He has to push one button, and that's it. So I'm not sure exactly what his I know how long he'll be around for. The point is, this is going to be the evolution where we are relying on the machines and the AI to do the positions we once did before. And the inevitability is that they are going to probably do it better. Think about that surgeon who's working on you, who's got shaky hands because last night he didn't sleep too well. Maybe he had something to drink, maybe this and that. Well, now you've got a 100% perfect surgeon each and every time. That robot doesn't make mistakes. They don't leave the sponge in you after they're done your surgery. Everything could be automated and perfected. I don't know. Seems kind of wild to me, but you tell me. I want to know something. If you personally are interested in getting the latest information that I can't get to here, and by the way, it's only a matter of time before I got to stop making the videos, you got to join me on the lives. Okay, I'm getting new people joining in just recently, and I think it's fantastic because I can take an entire 2-hour session every single week to give you the information that you need to know. I can't do that on here, obviously. Okay, we're condensed for time, and I just love the group. Great group of people. If you are interested in finding out about that, I have the link in the description below. I want to see you there. I want to see you there each and every week because that's where you're going to get the absolute best. People in that group are already aware of everything that's been happening right now because it is all a step-by-step plan, and I just outline it for them each and every week. So click that link in the description, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.